Hello, colleagues. We're so happy to have you here today. We're going to have a fascinating conversation about the importance of physical education, physical activity, and recess with Kyle Bragg. Kyle is a physical education teacher in Scottsdale, Arizona, and in 2021, he was the National Physical Education Teacher of the Year, right in our local neighborhood, Kyle.
Representing Arizona, yeah.
Yeah. So tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So I was born and raised in Bloomington, Illinois, and a golfer and all that. And basically, my mom was a teacher too, so she taught at Illinois State and kind of inspired me to be a teacher as well. I saw how happy she was. I mean, tired, but happy and proud of her
Mhm.
work and the difference she was making. So it kind of motivated me to be a teacher as well. And I picked physical education knowing how important activity is, but also how I can teach every school and teach the whole child as well. It's not just activity, but about social emotional learning and that kind of thing too. So I think it's a perfect opportunity to do that and to embed that kind of stuff in physical education. And I've been teaching for 12 years now, so enjoying summer break. That's good, but happy to talk with you today.
What you do is so important, and you and I actually met on Twitter, even though we live like 20 miles apart. Um, and you do incorporate a lot of social emotional learning, a lot of cognition, a lot of some of the foundational kind of motor competencies. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how you do it. Kind of what's your philosophy and what are you aiming to do?
Yeah, so teaching kids how to be better people, I would say, is my core focus, and doing it through physical activity. So, doing games that require them to problem solve and work together and collaborate, but in a very active way, knowing that kids learn better when they're active. And so, instead of me explaining the significance, I might model it, and then I will have them do it within a game, so it's more meaningful, relevant. They can understand it better by doing so. Just kind of teaching them how to be a better person, but in a very active way. And um, yeah, that's kind of the nutshell there.
I love all the activities that you share and all the kids are so
Thanks.
happy. Oh gosh. So I want to talk with you a little bit. We are having a challenge in America. And part of that challenge is that be, there are many settings where there is a big emphasis on academic skills, reading, math, science, history, all very important, we know. But for some reason, to the diminishment of physical skills, art, and music, I can't understand why we can't do it all because it all matters so much.
Hmm.
Can you talk with us about, let's just talk first about the state of physical activity for our children. What is going on in America?
Yeah, we were talking about how it's quite different than when we were kids. That picture of an adult dragging a kid outside to play versus the when we were kids, they had to drag us inside to go eat or whatever. So it's just the opposite, and all the video games and such aren't helping us as well. But it is sad. I know some schools like aren't even following through with the mandatory laws as far as recess. That's really sad. We know how important activity is and how it stimulates the brain. I even show my kiddos how what your brain looks like when you're active versus when you're not active, and they were like blown away. And then we talk
Mhm.
about crossing the midline and all this kind of stuff. So I'm doing my very best to explain the purpose and have them enjoy physical education, enjoy physical activity, and give them skills that they can pursue lifelong. Right. So that's the whole goal and the whole purpose. And it's hard to do that just alone. So having that mindset established, school wide is obviously helpful. So we're not taking away recess. We're not doing that. So
No.
that's not an appropriate way to handle a misbehaved kid or something. But just getting the whole school involved. And I try to invite teachers and admin to my classes all the time. They're like, hey, I want them to see, and then when they do see, they're more supportive. So just trying to get the whole school bought in, and then yeah.
There are actually hundreds of peer-reviewed articles published that show that physical activity is strongly correlated with cognitive skills, executive function skills. It's just amazing. And there's recent stuff on brain priming. I know you know Mike Kazala.
Hmm.
He and I did some work on brain priming. And when you do a physical activity, it doesn't even have to be full MVPA. It can be just something that you have to use your motor, use your cognition, think it through, right? When you
Hmm.
do that before a learning event, you do better on the learning event. You take in the
Hmm.
information better, you perform better on the test. So I'm happy that your school has bought into all the physical activity. What kind of advice do you have to the physical education teachers where their schools are not buying in as much?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, you definitely want to, like I said, invite them in and kind of showcase what you do so they can see it firsthand. I think it's different talking about it versus actually seeing it. So, taking videos. I'm on Dojo. I'll take videos for all my parents to see too. So we're getting not only the admin involved, but the parents involved in seeing the important things that we're doing. And now all of a sudden, the parents and admin have a talking point. Parents talking to their kids at home, like, "Hey, can you tell us about crossing the midline? I see you doing some exercises crossing the midline today. Can you tell us what that means?" Blah, blah. So getting everybody on board, getting the teachers on board, like incorporating their standards into PE, and all of a sudden they're going to come earlier and see how awesome PE is. So like, I would say just advocate for yourself, and it's going to be challenging at first, but I think if you keep at it, they'll see the importance of PE, especially if you're putting your heart and soul into it. And that's what I would suggest.
Do you ever, and I don't know if you do, but do you send home activities? I mean, I see you sharing a ton of good activities, and we know that Open P, Phys Ed and Spark and Gopher, they all provide such great handouts and stuff. Do you ever send any of those home? Does anyone want to have them at home?
Yeah, so we have I'm actually on the Shape America PA Council, and we
Mhm.
create the monthly activity logs that they can perform, which are very I've kids tell me they use them, which is cool. And we talk about all the time like how you can do PE activities at home, like with different materials, right? So if you don't have a basketball, you don't really need a basketball. Find any ball that bounces, soccer ball,
Mhm.
kickball, whatever. We were talking about if you don't have bowling pins, just set up little plastic solo cups and roll them. So just trying to get them active with what they have at home, because and in the park, right? Because not everybody can afford going to the trampoline, whatever.
Right.
Things cost money, but everyone can afford, climbing a tree, So instead, we were rock climbing to finish the year, so we can't maybe go to the rock climbing gym because that's expensive. But we show them how to climb trees and things like that. So just making it like, I would say equitable, like providing equitable opportunities for them to do outside of PE, especially in the summer. And I tell them like take pictures and like show me when we get back, and I'll take pictures of me being active, and so we have a cool time at the beginning of the year showing each other how active we were and then talking about how that made you feel, how much fun you had, right? So connecting happiness to physical activity. Therefore, they're going to pursue more activities because they know it's so fun. So getting them to talk about how positive their experience was is important.
That's so awesome. And you also involve, I've seen in some of your videos, you kind of involve the kids in some decision making around what you can do in the gym. Can you talk a little bit about your philosophy of why that increases motivation and saliency for your students?
Yeah, for sure. So getting them a voice choice, empowering them to. A lot of times we'll have a game and I'll have them like come up with their own rule to make it better, right? So how can we make this game even better? So has to be safe, has to be involved for everybody, and it has to be more fun. So those are the three things. So but having that, giving them that choice or that opportunity like makes the biggest difference because they're not used to that, right? They're used to being told exactly what to do. So I give them like a way to start it, but then they can make it better. So just providing those choices, essential agreements. So instead of calling them rules, we come up with them together at the beginning of the year, and it usually always falls into the same thing, but respectful, responsible, safe, grateful. But having them discuss it, what it looks like, what it sounds like, why it's important, like how do we want our kids to act, our friends to act in PE. So that gives them more ownership. So when they do maybe not meet a certain agreement, they can explain which one they didn't meet, and what they're going to do next time, instead of me saying you're out because I said so and you broke the rule. And well, these are the things we established together, right? So and then they're like, oh yeah, 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 sorry, So it's just getting them some choices and opportunities to kind of lead more student led versus teacher led. Yeah.
Right, right. It makes me smile because we do the same thing. I work in a dyslexia treatment program, Wellington Alexander, and children always want to change the game. They want to change the rule. They want to add this, they want to that,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
all that novelty makes them excited. So we allow that, but I always say, okay, if you're going to play on your own, you can change any rule you want anytime. But if we're
Hmm.
going to play together, then we need to make an agreement, just like you said, this word agreement. And so then when they start to change the rule, like let's add the third ball as an example,
Hmm.
I'll say, well, tell me what it is that you have in mind. What's your idea? And then let's see if we can agree about it together. So it served that purpose of not only increasing their motivation and saliency, but also getting them to slow down and think things out. And that's one of the things I love about what you do the most. You really, like you said, you want to raise happy, healthy, productive human beings, but you also teach them how to think.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a big poster that we reference a lot. Just says why physical education. It's from Captain Pete. We talk about all the time, but reducing like all these things. Yes, we're playing games, but we're also reducing our stress. We're also learning how to talk to each other, how to collaborate, how to make our heart really healthy, how to make our mind. They were doing a walk and talk the other day about how crossing the midline. We talked about how to ask for things, and how they were explaining, like they were pretending that they're asking their friend who is their mom or dad, like they were saying, hey, can you please buy me some cup stacks that helps cross the midline, which will help me be a better hand writer. And they're like kind of convincing, like role playing, but it's fun because that's something that they're going to need to learn, right? How to negotiate, how to ask respectfully, right? But doing it in an active way, and then using that PE equipment outside of class, like we talked about more earlier. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just getting passionate. Whenever I talk about anything PE, I just get so excited.
It's so you can feel it. It's so great. What's a walk and talk?
Yeah, so instead of just having them sit and talk to their shoulder partner, we just have a lot of times a prompt on the board. So they talk with a partner, they just walk around the room and explain. It could be, what do good dribblers do? So before the dribbling lesson, they walk and talk and explain like what they remember from last year, last time they dribbled, and that kind of gives me an opportunity to see what they know. So I can adjust this instruction if needed. If they already know their head is up, whatever, then I can spend less time talking about that. So it gives me an opportunity to see what they know, but they're already active immediately versus just me explaining it, or them sitting and talking at their spot.
I love that you're having them tell everyone what it is that they remember and how to do it. That's so cool. So can you make a few comments about recess? I'm really concerned about schools cutting recess. I find it absolutely unbelievable. And Debbie Ray's research at TCU, I'm pretty sure she's at TCU, says you really want to have 4 15-minute recesses a day, up to about grade 5. That's how important it is for your vestibular development and proprioception and kinesthetic awareness. Can you just tell us what your view on recess is, and how we can motivate schools to keep it? It's so important.
Yeah. Well, do you know the law is it how many minutes are they required in Arizona? Do you know?
I know there is a recess law. It's on my computer, but I don't know. Let me Google it while
Yeah,
you're
so I
chatting.
think we have 3 15 minutes. But yeah, so obviously the more active we talk about, the more active they are, the better test score is going to be, right? So getting admin to understand that, I think, is important. How activity helps the brain. And just going back to advocacy, just explaining the why, and like having them come out and watch recess. Like I like to go out and watch recess and see what they're doing, and like how I can teach in PE how to get along at recess, right? So the things are transferring from PE to recess, and I think that's where like real world stuff happens too. Like they learn how to like set their own game or create their own games, right? I'm not always going to be around. So we're like in PE, we're teaching them how to like create fair teams and stuff, and like coming to see it at recess like happen is pretty cool. But also just like understanding that, just that's a perfect opportunity to just watch them talk to each other, interact and have, because that's what life is, right? We're going to have to learn how to interact positively and stuff. And that's what recess allows you, that non-structured time to obviously move and get your body healthy, your brain healthy, but giving them that social interaction that they desperately need in an unstructured way, because let's face it, the rest of the day is pretty structured. So I think that's important to allow that. Their kids, they need that time. Adults need interaction time, but in a non-structured way where they can kind of do what they please. And then also after you watch them do it, you can kind of see who is interested in what kind of things, and then you can talk to them about that. So if that person likes throwing football, you can talk to them about that, and then build that relationship even more. And then they're going to, I can go on and on, but I would just say keep on advocating, and give admin that research, and explain the why, explain how important it is to you as a PE teacher. And if we don't mention it, if we don't talk about it, then admin's not going to do anything. We have to advocate for ourselves. And I know it gets kind of annoying, like we're always advocating. I get it. But we know this is our strength. We know this is what we excel in.
You're the experts.
Admin doesn't really know that, right? Or maybe they do, maybe they don't. But it's our job to, I think, make sure they're aware of it.
So the recess law, I just pulled it up. It is 2 periods a day of recess, and I will post, I curated a bunch of files for some legislative action that was taking place around recess. So when I post this, I'll be happy to post that as well. In terms of, I could talk with you forever, and I love your passion. It's so exciting. I want, the kids I work with tend to get left out a lot. They misperceive social cues. Often they have motor challenges. What types of things do you do with your kids to really try to have the children really care about other kids and really include them in a really productive way? I know that you have some strategies that you use.
Yeah, so I think first, explaining that we're all in this together, we're all a team, and like modeling it so they can see what it looks like, and then so we practice, so we model it. So whether it's picking somebody up or whether it's including like me, Lynn, going to you and saying, "Hey, you can join us," and like they have to see that first, right? If you expect them to do something, you have to train them to do it, and you have to see what it looks like. And then, hey, how'd that make you feel when you included Lynn in your group? I feel amazing. How do you think Lynn feels? Oh, she feels amazing too. So it's a win, win, win. Everybody feels good, but you have to model that, you have to practice that, you have to praise that. And then all of a sudden, after they do it a few times and they do it automatically, um, and it's just a great opportunity to show how good it feels. Like instead of ignoring the good deed, talk about it. Like stop the class. Like, hey, did you see what so and so just did? That was amazing. And just highlighting those things, and instead of things that like how far you throw a ball, like not everyone's capable of throwing the ball that far, right? But everyone's capable if you train them to include others and to help people up. We literally do games. We just literally help each other up. Like sometimes in our warm-ups, we just how'd that make you feel? And so I think making sure that you connect that happiness to PE again, right? So connecting those feelings, those positive feelings when they happen, and just reiterating that and having them explain how they feel, right? Because if they explain it, they're gonna remember it more and then just be more happy. But yeah, it does take a while. I get all the time like, how do you get kids to be nice? Well, first of all, my kids are already very, very good, so it's a lot easier for me. But I do praise the things that everyone can do. Every presentation, I always say, I compliment people on things that everyone's capable of doing.
Will you close here today with you got a mantra? It's something like model, practice, praise. Remember, can you teach us that before we go, and then we can practice it this week?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so I model whatever we're doing, whether it's how to ask for help, how to include somebody in your group. So I model it in front of everybody. Um, they they're watching it, then they practice usually with the partner, and then I praise that. So model, practice, praise, I think it is. And then so they're doing it in like a they practice it and then they apply it in the actual game, right? So they practice it like that one skill, whether it's how to help somebody up, and then hopefully that translates to when someone falls down in the actual game, they know how to rush over there and they know how to put their hand down. And then getting them to talk about how they feel after they did that, I think is, like I said, very, very important. So I just think modeling and having them practice things that are important to you is really important, because they can't read your mind. They don't know what you want until you make that very clear. What does that sound? If you want someone to be nice, what does that sound like? What does it look like? How do you know, how do you know how to adjust if someone doesn't feel very good, how to talk to them differently, like social cues, like social awareness. Yeah, so I'm getting passionate again. Sorry. It's summer break and I'm talking about this and I want to go back already.
Well, we're here today with Kyle Bragg, 2021 Teacher of the Year in Physical Education. Works right down the street from me. I want to visit his school. I've told him for a year that I want to come visit his school. Thank you so much, Kyle, for joining us. Physical education and physical activity is so important. It's just absolutely critical to academic achievement and social achievement. So thank you for being such a role model for everybody.
Thanks a lot, Lynn. Thanks for having me on. It was fun.